Let's get to our Matt Prichard. He is out live for us right now. Matt, you touched on sort of the historic precedent that has now been set with this case now. What does that mean for the folks like you, right, who are political reporters? This is going to sort of change the way that you guys are reporting on this candidate moving forward.
It certainly does, Colton. I mean, in many ways it does, and in many ways it doesn't simultaneously. This certainly adds a lot to Donald Trump, being that now he has been convicted on these 34 felony counts. So we know that that is now the baggage that he is going to be carrying around. We're also going to be tracking the other 3 criminal cases that he's facing, whether it's in Washington, D.C., in Georgia, or in Florida. If you can remember all 3 of those, which have been bogged down with delays, most of them probably aren't going to come up before voters head to the polls in November, but nonetheless, we're going to continue to track them. But simultaneously, as we wait for the sentencing date for Donald Trump, likely coming in a couple months or so, we're going to continue to cover him like you would any candidate. He's going to be out on the trail. He's going to continue to do rallies as he's done. And we know that he is going to use this moment as a rallying cry for his supporters and the voters who would like to see him return to the White House. We know he's done that in the past. He just did it outside of the courtroom, which he's been doing throughout this entire time over the course of 6 weeks. And so we'll continue to cover these different rallies, and we'll continue to comment and to report on how he's going to try and move forward towards the White House. What I think is going to be interesting is we've talked a lot about how Donald Trump is going to frame this on the campaign trail. We also need to look at how Joe Biden is going to frame this on the campaign trail. For him, he's going to say right now, I'm running against a convicted felon, and I'm the current president of the United States. And so he's going to say that the vision that I've had over the past 4 years is the vision that you want to see for the 4 years coming forward. So certainly we're going to be checking that out. In fact, we just got a statement from the Biden-Harris campaign talking about this verdict. They say that in New York today, we saw that no one is above the law. Donald Trump has always mistakenly believed that he would never face consequences for breaking the law for his own personal gain. But today's verdict does not change the fact that the American people face a simple reality. There is still only one way to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office, at the ballot box. So you can see that they're already started trying to frame this in the fact that ultimately they feel like this is up to the American voter, even though this trial has taken place. They say convicted felon or not, it ultimately is up to voters in November to decide who is going to run this country for the next 4 years or so. So certainly we're going to continue to cover this day in and day out, Colton, as we've been doing with the former president, the current president. Remember, they've got a debate in Atlanta coming up on June 27th.
It's very true, Matt.
Matt, I want to just get your feedback and your take. I don't know if you were old enough during the inauguration of President Trump, but I was old enough, and he talked about, he predicted this American carnage, right? That the carnage of America, and I find it so fascinating that the Republicans in general, and Trump especially, are running in sort of this, none of our systems are working. The judicial system isn't working. The election system isn't working. That it's just every single institution that we have cherished, again, which has had problems and isn't perfect, but I think we could safely say works. How do you build, in your experience covering politics, is there a model for covering and running on a campaign that nothing is working?
It's an interesting question, Sue. I mean, certainly we saw him run on this, like you said, in 2016, and I covered Donald Trump for 3 years of his first term there in Washington, D.C., and he always was bringing up his problems with the systems that we have here in this country. Of course, we know there's a lot of discontent with a lot of the systems in this country, and so Donald Trump is trying to speak to those specific voters out there that feel that there are these problems. But I think what you see when you compare these two campaigns, you see one campaign, the Biden campaign, who's saying, look, we have these institutions, we have these different agencies in place to try and make sure that our country is running smoothly. Do they have their problems? Yes. Do they need improvement? Yes. But we still need to be investing in them on a day-to-day basis. Donald Trump says we need to completely strip them down to the studs and move back and really put a lot of faith into the White House itself. So really, as a voter, it's which one do you think is the right approach going forward into 2024? By the way, we are getting a few statements from some of our local representatives as they began to react to this verdict. Rep. Jim McGovern says that it's official. Trump is a convicted felon, found guilty on all 34 counts. Lori Trahan, no one is above the law. So you can see the reaction is going to keep coming in as we go throughout, as we hear from our congressional delegation. Remember, it's an entirely Democrat delegation, so you can sort of figure out what you're going to hear from them. We'll keep watching to see what Republicans have to say, specifically those that tend to edge towards that middle part of the political spectrum. Sue, Colton?
All right, Matt, thank you.